My name is Elena, and there's something I did in my last year of high school that I've never told anyone. Not friends, not family, not even the people I worked with on the yearbook committee. It feels small and strange to confess now, more like a tiny secret that has lived in the corner of my mind for years. But with my first child on the way, I find myself thinking about it more often and wondering what it says about me back then and what it might mean for the person I want to be as a parent. I was on the yearbook committee because I liked quiet, detail-oriented work and it felt safe. Arranging photos, checking captions, making sure everyone's name was spelled correctly. We had a tradition where seniors could submit short write-ups for classmates, tributes, jokes, memories. Most were warm or goofy, a little ridiculous in the way teenagers are, but harmless. Then there was one entry that made my stomach clench when I read it. It was about a boy who'd been bullied all through school, the kind who never fit into the popular groups and who, despite being awkward, had never been cruel. He'd been singled out for his clothes, his mannerisms, a crush that everyone else treated like an open secret. I won't name him because I'm not in touch and I don't know where life took him, but at the time, he was, and still is in my head, someone who didn't deserve what was coming. The submission looked on the surface like a tribute, a few lines meant to be lighthearted, but the tone beneath it was sharp and mean. There were little jabs that would only make sense if you knew the ongoing jokes about him. Digs about who he liked, sly comments about his clothes, phrased as if they were affectionate teasing. To anyone outside our circle, those remarks might have landed as harmless, but I remembered the way he sometimes sat alone at lunch and the way his face tightened when someone made jokes about him in the corridor. The entry felt like a final kick, a public rounding on someone whose high school years had already been hard. The submission had come anonymously, which made it harder. In the yearbook committee, we accepted anonymous submissions under the assumption people would use it for kindness and nostalgia, not cruelty. But the email header gave me a clue. It traced back to a kid who'd always hung around the popular table, a boy whose humor often landed on the wrong side of mean. I knew, in the practical way, that editing other people's words without permission crossed a line. We weren't supposed to alter submissions, but something else rose up inside me. It wasn't bravado, it wasn't a desire to break the rules. It was a gut response to protect someone from unnecessary humiliation. So I edited. I didn't rewrite the whole thing. I didn't add effusive praise that would have felt false or suspicious. I didn't make him into a hero. I simply removed the little barbs, smoothed the edges, and rephrased the parts that turned a lighthearted line into something cruel. I left the basic structure intact so it wouldn't read as if someone had rewritten it for him. My goal was quiet. Make it neutral, make it kind. Make sure that when the yearbooks were distributed, he wouldn't open that page and feel the familiar sting of being othered one more time before he left. After I hit save, I remember a strange mix of calm and adrenaline. There was the small, illicit thrill of having done something I wasn't supposed to do, and the quiet satisfaction that no one would get hurt because of me. When the books arrived and the school day for distribution came, nothing about the revised entry was questioned. He turned the pages, I presume, and for another year, he walked out of that building without that particular wound being inflicted in public. I never told him. I never told anyone on the committee. The secret lived inside me. Over the years, I've thought about whether I should have done more. Should I have reported the anonymous submission to a teacher? Should I have confronted the student who sent it? In the moment, the easiest path to stop harm was the one I took. Small and quiet, invisible except for whoever had vetted the layout. I knew breaking the committee rules had a cost if it was discovered. It wasn't ethical in the procedural sense, but ethics and humanity sometimes pulled in different directions. At 17, the choice felt simple: prevent harm when you can. Looking back, I can see both sides. I broke the rules, yes, but I also spared someone humiliation that might have followed him for years. There's a complicated tangle of feelings tied to never speaking up, too. I'm not proud that I chose the safety of an edit over the discomfort of a confrontation. I didn't write an anonymous note to the boy. I didn't go up to him and say, "Hey, you nearly got a cruel thing printed about you." Maybe because I didn't want him to be reminded. Maybe because I was too shy. Maybe because teenagers are complicated and I was one of those quiet kids who found it easier to act behind the scenes. The cowardice in that choice sits with me sometimes. I acted, yes, but purely in a protective, hidden way rather than with straightforward courage. I've wondered if my silence also denied him a chance to feel supported in person. Now, expecting my first child, those memories have a different weight. I think about playground dynamics in the future, about the cruelty kids can show to each other and how often it becomes normalized. I think about wanting to teach my own child to be brave, to speak up, to be visible in defense of someone being hurt. But I also recognize that bravery can take many forms. The act I took, small, anonymous, breaking the rules, did do something. It prevented humiliation. It gave someone a less painful memory of their graduation year. That counts for something. Sometimes I wonder where that boy is now. Did he go on to find friends who accepted him? Did he build a life where those small cruelties mattered less? I hope so. I hope whatever awkwardness and solitude he experienced in high school didn't define him. I like to think that by altering that one paragraph, I gave him a gentler ending to a difficult chapter. It's a comforting thought, though I know it doesn't undo everything that happened. I've held on to this secret partly because it felt trivial compared to other confessions, and partly because it felt personal, an awkward, protective act I did in a small world I left behind. Telling strangers online made it easier too. You can share something without it tangling into your present life. Bringing it up with friends would require awkward backstory and explanations of people they don't know. It would also reveal a version of myself I'm still negotiating with. Someone who prefers subtle interventions over overt confrontation, who will break a rule to protect someone, but may lack the courage to speak openly. If I had to advise my younger self, I'd say both things. Thank you for stepping in, and don't be afraid to be visible when it matters. Tell people, stand up. There are moments when a quiet edit is enough, and there are moments when a clear voice is necessary. I hope that when the time comes and my child faces the cruel edges of schoolyard life, I'll be able to do both, to protect quietly when it helps and to speak up loudly when it's required. For now, the secret stays with me, a small, imperfect act that I neither regret nor celebrate loudly. I altered one page in a yearbook and spared a fellow student a final humiliation. Maybe that's enough to sit with for now.